Yeah. Well, not really. Yeah, it's like when you have dinner and you're.
We're recording. Welcome to the Downtown Management Commission meeting. It is Monday, October 6th, 2025, and I will call roll. Erica Dahl,
Present.
Justin Calvin,
Present.
Andy Nathan is not here yet. Don Poe.
Here.
Stephanie Trees is not on the line yet. I will now hand the meeting over to Chair Poe for procedural items.
Great. First thing we have is approval of the 2025 meeting minutes. Does anyone have a motion for that?
A motion to approve minutes.
I'll second.
Done. Do we have any public in attendance?
We have no members of the public online.
Great. So moving on to the consent agenda. Not discussed in this questions. I have a couple minor things, but do you guys have any questions? In the commercial area blueprint, staff released an RFP for the work and we are selecting a consultant by the end of September. Can you just remind me what that's for?
Interesting that you asked that question. So we prepared the consent agenda and for the meeting that we were supposed to have earlier in the month. So this was work that was happening in conjunction with the Boulder Valley Comp Plan and wanting to map out a long-term investment strategy for the general improvement districts. Partially related with the news that came out today, the work has been paused as we learn about where things are going with the Downtown Development Authority, which will require a plan of development that gets established specifically for the DDA and the boundaries. The commercial areas blueprint was serving the other commercial districts as well. So the work is being paused. So more to come on that. That's some other folks, maybe some other things. Ricky, do you want to add anything?
I think you nailed it, Chris. Thank you. Just given some of the other overlapping efforts and capacity resource challenges right now. It's on pause, but we'll certainly revisit the services in the near future.
Maybe my one big picture question about the DDA. Is just looking at the timeline, something needed to.
We'll have a presentation.
Okay, well, I'll hold on
Yeah.
that, because that was addressed here, but I think there's a bigger fish to fry. We're doing consent agenda. If you have any questions? No other questions. We're zooming right along to Bettina.
Hello, everybody. Greetings on this sort of wintry day. Success. All right. So this says September, but it is in fact October. With that in mind, though, a big focus that we've had over the summer is getting ready for the November election. So we've been working quite a bit on our public policy development. And by we, I mean, I especially spent a lot of time listening to the county commissioners talk about the new sales tax for behavioral health and substance abuse addiction services. So at first they said that they were going to do a 15-year tax, and then they scaled it back to 3 or to 5, and then they scaled it back to 3. So the Downtown Boulder Public Policy Committee did endorse that officially. And so we're hopeful that that will help deal with some of the issues that we see with especially some of our more chronically people who are just in and out of the system a lot. They're in the public right away, and this will help get them some services. We also are in support of the 2 ballot initiatives that the city is putting forward to extend the CCRS and also make sure that the debt cap is such that funds can be leveraged, especially with the announcement that's coming today, more focus on infrastructure repairs. We are hosting a city council candidate forum on Thursday at E-Town. We've got 7 of the 11 candidates who will be in attendance, and it's going to be a quick hour. All of the questions are just about downtown. So We are asking that people register in advance and that they be a representative of either a business in the business improvement district or a member of TPP. We just want to make sure that we're really staying laser focused on topics that are pertinent to downtown. So hopefully I will see some of you there. Our marketing campaign has also been kicked into high gear. We're switching over a lot of our assets to, from summer into fall. We did a number of photo shoots with, of course, our all local models, including Chris Jones, who was one of our models this year. We're also doing a partnership with some influencers. So our marketing agency went through a list of about 60 Colorado influencers, and we found the following 4 folks who are starting to do some content now. So you should follow them. It's a good mix of people who have that sort of outdoor brand, who are very Colorado enthusiasts, and also might have relationships with like dining and shopping. So that's an exciting new tactic that we're using. We also got some drone footage shoots from a couple weeks ago, and the photos are just absolutely beautiful. It's like the perfect moment where the flowers are blooming and the trees are green. It was really quite beautiful. These are some of our campaigns. Again, all of these are local people in our community. So this is the fall campaign that we've now launched officially. And this is just a sort of an overview of some of the things that we're working on. We had Fall Fest this past weekend. Hopefully that was a good turnout for all of the businesses. We had Firefly Handmade Market, and then we also had a Battle of the Bands on Saturday. That was really fun. We had some really good attendance. The winner of the Battle of the Bands will be playing at the Roots Music Project, Roots Music Festival in a couple of weeks, and also get a spot on the 2026 Bands on the Bricks lineup. So,
Do you know who's doing the TV spots and stuff?
$11 bill. Yep. And as part of the Roots Music Fest, we also have World Singing Day. So that'll be on that Saturday. So on out for that. This was true in September, but it is no longer true because we do not have any more visitor guide advertising opportunities. That is sold out. We also launched a new holiday playbook, and Erica sits on our marketing committee. We had a chance to go through this. We're launching some very cool new holiday promotions. This playbook is really a way to help the local business community kind of play off of some of the things that we're doing and also just elevate their brands during the holiday season. We're going to be launching a new promotion this year. It's called the Downtown Dash, and it's going to be a shopping passport that'll be available at select businesses. And if you spend $15, you get a stamp, and then once you fill up a card, you are entered in a chance to win some really fantastic prizes. So these programs have been really great, demonstrated a lot more local economic activity around the holiday season. So we'll be rolling that out at the beginning of November. The assets will go live, and then the program will be live on our Switch on the Holidays event the week before Thanksgiving. We also did a great session with the Downtown Colorado Inc. And a group of business improvement districts in Denver specifically. So we had sort of 3 generations of downtown leadership, including me and Chris, Molly Winter, Sean Marr, and Chip was there too. So that was a great session. I'd be happy to share that link, or actually it's in your packet if you want to watch that, to hear about all the history of our great collaborations between downtown Boulder and the city. This was a promotional activity. It already happened, so sorry if you missed it. I talked a little bit about World Singing Day. Munchkin Masquerade is going to be on a Friday this year. It is also CU homecoming. So Halloween weekend is going to be slamming with little goblins and ghouls, and also a lot of buffaloes wandering. So hopefully it all goes smooth. I mentioned the Switch on the Holidays event. We're really getting ready for that. And our Lights of December parade, we made a strategic decision to move that a week later this year. Historically, it's been the first week of December, and we decided that we're not going to go up against Denver. We're going to see if maybe people want to come, they can go to Denver, and they can also come here. So we still have a few slots left on that, but we've got a really good lineup right now. Our block by block folks continue to do the very hard, sometimes invisible work of cleaning and making sure you don't have to see unsightly things. These are just some brief stats. We will also be publishing a quarterly report since we just wrapped the third quarter. That'll be coming out in the next few weeks, and I'll make sure they get that. So our TBO train, this is just some fun little stats on our TBO train. Our ridership was up this year over last year. This is primarily a locals activity, so people really bring their kiddos out. It's not necessarily tourist focused or visitor focused. And yeah, it's just kind of interesting to see. People love that train. They just love it. Here's some more before and after photos. Again, the ambassadors are doing their best work when you don't see the things that they do because it just looks nice and tidy. So we had some graffiti issues. Of course, summertime has been lots and lots of weeding. And the rain is gonna make that an issue now with the leaves coming down, so we'll be paying special attention to that. And that is about all I've got.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
After all the boulders on feedback I read after the fact, did that impact any of the members that reached out to you?
So we actually just did a survey to our business community to find out how they felt about the Boulder Farm. We got about 28 responses, and in all full disclosure, I haven't read the results yet. It just came out, I think, this afternoon while I was heading over here. We do understand that's a large event that has had. There's just a lot going on, so there were some issues that came up for sure.
What were the issues?
The feedback that I heard was that there were some issues with where dumpsters were placed. Some roads that maybe were not closed in a efficient manner. I do believe though that the organizers are really committed to continuing to refine and learn. Yeah, like they brought in an external event producer. We did a meeting over at the Oddfellows for the whole East End community so that they could learn about what was coming. The communication was a little bit better.
I did the half marathon. I personally had a good experience, so.
Good.
But I'm curious, how many people do they typically bring from out of state or out of?
You know, I'm not the event producer, so I don't have that information. Sorry. I don't know if you all know.
A lot of people.
It's increased a lot.
Puma was this one. You know, Puma presented it. I feel like. Good thing. Yeah.
I guess the only thing for me.
It doesn't affect me. It was good. It was busy. And people had to pick their stuff up. So people were here Friday and Saturday picking up their stuff.
Yeah.
They had a good swag bag.
Yeah, they did. I mean, it did seem like a great event. I was surprised that it was on a home scene weekend. Like you think it would be better to do it on a weekend than bring more people, people were to come here anyways. I don't know.
Yeah. I will say we've gotten some feedback that having Boulderthon and Fall Fest sequentially, and then with this music festival coming up, there's just a lot. There's basically every weekend there's something happening, which is really fun and wonderful, but also can be very fatiguing.
Yes.
Especially for locals who maybe are like, I don't want to go down because it's too crowded, right? So we're thinking about that when we're doing our event planning for 2026 too. Like, do we want to align it at a different time? How can we make sure that we're not just inundating folks?
So much that you don't want.
Right, yeah, we don't want to be a part.
And the game schedule was like 3 home games in September. That's like brutal. So
Yeah, and there is a stampede on Friday night, so there's another fun thing.
there's one here and campus or
The
like
campus one is gonna
parade.
be on Halloween. The downtown stampede will be there on Friday.
Hi all. Sorry for my tardiness. How's everyone doing? Bettina, I wanted to say my family and I, we went to Fall Fest and it had been like a couple of years. And this sounds silly, but we really appreciate that the bouncy castles were free. Because my kids are obsessed with bouncy castles. And I remember in the past that they weren't. So I don't know what changed, if anything, or we just haven't been. But that was fun. It was a fun vibe, and the bands that were there when we were there were really fun. Just to comment on timing, No, we went to go see the leaves in Nederland. There are a lot of people there. And because there's still good fall foliage that week, so I wonder if that's a consideration. Um, and there's also it's the last week of like Oktoberfest parties that weekend as well, which we also went to at Beer Garden, which was really fun. So I don't know if there's other considerations for pushing it a week later or not, but this thing something that I know there's still a lot of fall foliage around and people are out doing that.
Yeah, I mean, planning events and timelines is always so tricky, right? Because we can't plan for when the leaves are gonna turn. And you can't plan for when there's gonna be a hot, streak. So last year, the Fall Fest was in September. We actually strategically decided to move it to October. But then it is what it is.
It's
So,
always
but
not cold during Fall Fest. It's always warm because we have a pretty warm fall, sadly. But well, yeah, I just wanted to thank you for the event because it was really good.
Thank you. I'll pass that on to the team. I really appreciate it.
I had a quick question. What exactly is outreach referrals with our ambassadors?
Yeah, so our ambassadors are not trained social workers,
Right.
but a lot of them do have relationships with some of our unhoused neighbors because they see them on a daily basis.
Sure.
So that could be something as simple as, I'm gonna tell you where you can get a meal today, or I'm gonna actually try to connect you with a caseworker. The All Roads Shelter has, an outreach team. And they've been coming down once a quarter to walk with our ambassadors, just to kind of get to know folks. But that's what that means.
That's kind of what I thought, and I was just kind of concerned that there was zero referrals, and that I think there are definitely opportunities to refer some of the people that we see all the time downtown, or not all the time, but that was just surprising that some 2 months in a row, zero referrals. So I was curious if there was anything we could add into the training or partner with any of the groups that are already doing outreach.
Yeah, I'll have to check with our team lead on that. I think part of it may be just the seasonality of things. When there are more visitors in town, people have a tendency to kind of disperse a little bit more, so they might not be in our service area as much. We also had one of our people, who does a lot of outreach, was out on medical leave, so that might be part of it too. But good question.
Anything else? Moving on to the DDA.
All right, thanks, Bettina. We have a lot of items to cover in matters from staff today. We have Regan Brown here to start, with an update on where we're at with the downtown development authority.
Thanks, Chris. I don't have slides, just a quick verbal update, hoping to have you all nominate someone to serve on the planning group for this work. So, as you know, we are in the early stages of exploring potential formation of a DDA, a downtown development authority. We're working with UMA, Progressive Urban Management Associates, who all they did the district analysis work, to help facilitate this process. This help us better understand whether DDA could be a useful tool to support downtown's long-term vibrancy. And so part of the project leadership structure for this work includes the formation of a planning group that can also be referred to as a steering committee. They're kind of interchangeable. They convene monthly to really help move this effort along and shape the direction. It includes a mix of stakeholders such as property owners, business owners, representatives of key organizations like PPP, the BID, CU, etc. And so we are asking for one DMC commissioner to serve on this planning group, on this steering committee, to represent the commission's perspective. And the representative will really help bridge communication between the planning group and DMC, just ensuring that other commissioners really stay informed and have the opportunity to shape the direction of this work. And the planning group will also help advocate for and lead the campaign for the DDA if and when it gets placed on the ballot. We're aiming for the November 2026 election based on the ballot. And the next planning group meetings, talking through next steps is next Thursday, October 16th, from 1 to 2:30. This one will be held virtually. Typically, they are in person. This one is held virtually because we're gonna have some CEOs from here, DDA communities, join in and kind of serve on a panel to speak to their DDAs, projects they're working on, answer any questions about the formation process, whatever you're curious about. So once you all nominate a commissioner interested in serving on this group, I can bring that commissioner forward to speak, but I'm gonna answer any other questions about where we're at. I think it can be an informal nomination. I don't know if you can formal vote for this.
It's not, well, we do need a majority of commissioners support the nominated members so that they can represent for DMC, and then we'd likely ask for them to then, the matters from commissioners at future meetings, provide an update to where the work is at in the process.
Do you know time commitment and for how long? Estimate?
If I remember, it'll probably be about a few hours a month, but that may increase in 2026, once it gets placed on the ballot. So pleading and something has to pay for this effort and we increase that. That's not gonna do that.
Does anyone else have?
Can it be an at-large? Commission,
Sorry, what's the question?
can it be an at-large commissioner with the action? Okay.
Stephanie, any questions? I just want to make sure you get a.
And we've
Good question.
only had one planning group meeting so far, it was in September. It was really kind of a level setting meeting, really informational, talking about the formation process, so happy to share those slides with whoever.
Does anyone have interest?
I've got a lot of interest.
You do?
You
One
guys?
to 2:30 for this.
Erica, I just took your pen.
I just have 1 to 2:30. So
Stephanie, did you have
Calvin,
any
I
interest?
nominate Calvin.
Stephanie, did you have-
I don't have bandwidth now, and I'm happy to hear that Calvin does.
I have some interest, but with my term coming up. I want to be cognizant that I get halfway there and I kind of term right up here next year. So, Cal, you're,
Everybody's cool with that, and you said this Thursday.
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
so maybe we should have a formal vote just so we can formally vote. I move that Cal be our representative for the DEA. Second. Move to vote. Yeah, you said move to vote, so ayes,
Aye.
any nays? Commissioner Cal. Aye.
Thank you. I'll send you the calendar invite. I'll send you some background information and resources to get up to speed. But just so you know where we're at, we're kind of working on defining study area boundaries. Soon we're gonna start educating stakeholders on what DDA is, how we'll host some engagement sessions. Yeah. I'll get.
Okay, thanks Regan. Next up, we have a few folks here to talk about some significant capital improvement projects that we have planned and budgeted for this year and next. Want to get the Downtown Management Commission up to speed on everything that we have planned. So we have Christine Edwards here representing the work, but also Chelsea Sullivan. Who's been doing a lot of behind the scenes coordination on bringing these projects along. And then we have some folks online that are here to help answer questions if needed, but more listening in to the discussion. So with that,
Yeah,
Christine.
I'm just gonna turn it right over to Chelsea and Erica, because they are the masterminds behind all the work that's actually getting done, so on to you guys.
And I'm just joining the Zoom meeting, sorry, didn't realize. I'm joining and I'm gonna share my screen. But to give an introduction, so again, hi, I'm Chelsea Sullivan, I'm a project analyst for Community Vitality. I have been running behind the scenes, for our capital improvement project at 1100 Spruce Garage, as well as the Faith Julian Garage. And those are the two we're gonna go through with you today. Erica then is our owner's representative. She works, well, actually, she can introduce herself. She is here, so I will hand it to Erica, and then we also have our architecture team online as well.
Thanks, Chelsea. Like she said, my name is Erica Ben. I've been working with CV on the capital construction projects for almost 5 years now. So we've seen a lot of change and a lot of really great direction that we've been moving with these projects. We've got PEH as our design partner, so I'll let them introduce themselves.
Afternoon, everybody. I'm Chris Murdo with PEH Architects. I'm a principal here at PEH.
Hi, I'm Mary Blazer, and I am one of the project managers here at PEH Architects.
And we have a really hard time hearing you guys, PEH.
Oh,
We'll speak up.
Thank you.
You bet. We need to reintroduce.
I think we got it.
We're good.
Thanks for joining us.
While Chelsea gets that set up, I'll just give you guys a little bit of background or just a refresher. When I first joined the team was doing a lot of ad hoc dealing with emergency maintenance stuff. And what we decided to do is take a step back, and while we were still continuing with the emergency maintenance and making sure that these garages stay accessible and supportive of the local economy, we also wanted to make sure that we were looking at these buildings comprehensively, because they are, as it turns out, we did a pedestrian count, or DVP does a pedestrian count every year. And last year, if I remember correctly, it was 8.2 million people went up and down the Pearl Street Mall. It turns out we had 850,000 individual visits to our parking garages. So over 10% of all people who come downtown interact with our garages, and that's not taking into consideration the number of people who are actually in the vehicles. So most likely it's closer to 15 to 20% of people who come downtown utilize these garages. So we want to make sure that these things stay standing to support the local economy for years to come. So these two projects are going to be our first run at these comprehensive capital investment projects, and you'll get to have first glance at what we're thinking.
So I want to quickly, I know you have a lot on your agenda, so I am going to quickly go over these, but if you have questions, please absolutely reach out to me and ask along the way. But the major project overview again is taking a holistic look at these assets instead of doing emergency repairs, which is what you see previously with our concrete repairs, traffic coding, and the sentiment from the community members was that our garages were always under construction and always closed. A confusing process. So our hopes are that this new style of project management is really looking at what's best for the asset itself, but also allowing our community members to understand what the investment is and that our garages are not always under construction and that we actually have a capital asset management program. This project was publicly bid in December of 2024 for design and architecture services, which our PEH Architects is who was awarded the bid. And then from our construction standpoint, it is PCL Construction. This project. We sent out initial project communications via email and newsletter on September 23rd, and we have a town hall in person in this space on October 15th. It is during the lunch hour, which I know is a struggle for lots of people to make it here, but if you're able, we would love to have you. It will be in person with our construction team as well as PEH, just to meet and greet and answer questions that I'm sure you're ready to have. Schedules for this do remain in development because we are in the permitting process. So Our intent right now is that there will be a full closure of this garage for a duration of time to allow the large amounts of work to be completed continuously. And it's an effort to compress the construction schedule.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, Chelsea, I'm getting feedback that we'd like to hear you a little louder online.
Oh, sure.
Or we can just get closer to
Yes,
the house.
please.
Yeah, thank you.
Get in close. As they're on the phone, but I just wanted to make sure that we had their pictures up for, in case they weren't able to show up. But again, this is PEH Architect, Chris and Mary. And then this is our PCL construction team. So we do have quite an extensive team on the PCL partnership side. And they will be at the town hall on October 15th. The scope of work, this is not all inclusive. This is really just the main bullet points that we wanted to draw attention to, is enclosing the elevator hoistways and stairwells to minimize water intrusion, storefront replacements on all tenant spaces that have exceeded their useful life, structural repairs to maintain the integrity of the facility. Most exciting, in my opinion, is the upgraded lighting and fresh painting to improve visibility, safety, and overall appearance of the garage. And then concrete repairs and traffic coding throughout the garage. The timeline we have right now is that we're hoping to submit for permit end of September, and then our anticipated permit received is December of this year, but chances are it may be early January, just with lead times of the permit review track. Construction, we have mobilization beginning in January and smaller projects really through March. A lot of this work is temperature dependent, so January through March is not great for those projects. And then fall of 2026 is our anticipated substantial completion. I'm going to jump really quickly to St. Julian. It's a very similar feel to what we're doing at 1100 Spruce. This project was actually pulled ahead. We wanted to do these one at a time, but the St. Julian is actually doing an expansion project, and it benefits us to coincide our project with theirs, because in the past it has been difficult to make loud noises and do the construction work with their business operations. The spa clientele does not like when we make loud noises for who knows what reason. So we are trying to make sure that we are good partners and we're still maintaining these assets and getting the work done that we need to get done.
How early are we doing it? Like 10 years early or 1 year early?
It was really a pull ahead 1 year, so we attended 2027.
Not bad.
We said both lots will be closed at the same time.
They won't be fully closed at the St. Julian.
Okay.
It'll be partial closure, but the St. Julian provides a unique opportunity because it is subgrade. So there's chance to make sure that overlapping schedules and that there are places for permit holders to park. Also, the St. Julian garage is underutilized. So we're hoping that we can partner and make the best decision for the community, but we do recognize that there will be pushback. The design portion of this work was awarded to Kinley Horn with support of 4240 Architects, who were the original architects for the construction of this garage. And we are in the process of partnering with Saunders Construction, who is completing the construction for the Civic Pad development. So that's who St. Julian is partnering with for their expansion project. I do want to touch on that. This process is different than a public solicitation. We are seeking a request to proceed with Saunders because they are the construction team that is handling the expansion. And we see the value in partnering with them to make sure that we are able to work in the same spaces without causing too much confusion and also delay in schedule and conflict of interest. There's also a substantial risk if you get another contractor on board as you're working on the same stuff. The St. Julian scope of work. We are looking at the full replacement of 2 stairwells. We are looking to have wayfinding elements within the garage, including additional signage, upgrading lighting and fresh painting to improve visibility, safety, overall appearance, concrete repairs throughout the garage, and replacement of mechanical equipment, including exhaust fans.
we are about to enter the permitting track end of October, and again, the permit receiving, we're hoping we receive the permit January, February 2026. And construction mobilization begins in February 2026. This is our hopes, and it should also align and overlap with the St. Julian work as well. They're planning to start their mobilization at that time frame. I'm changing pace here a little bit. We were presented from 4240 a wayfinding element and design that we want to present and get your feedback, and that's what I'm looking to do now. So instead of construction, it's more of the interesting, fun concepts that we can get off of that. So just reiterating what feedback we provided to 4240 and what they heard from our community members, garage users, is that really we want our garages to feel safe. We also would like to have placemaking as an element for when people are in our garages or come to our garages, they understand where they parked. As well as making sure once they're in the garage, they understand where they're coming out of the garage. If they're trying to get to the library or University Hill, there's direction to get them there. They're coming out towards the St. Julian Hotel and Pearl Street Mall. There's directions to say this is the west end side of Pearl Street. This is Pearl Street Mall and then east end. So this is briefly talking about the circulation of current traffic patterns within the garage. This is the proposed, wait, no.
It's current.
It's current, thank you. So this is what the proposal from 4240 was, is the suggestion of making it memorable and bright, wayfinding from the street, and
these are just examples that they're pulling from and helping us plan out what we could do with St. Julian.
The question I had on these, and maybe this is because these are examples.
Yeah.
What the words mean, and like all the things on the stairs, I was like, that doesn't tell me anything.
yes,
Yeah, these are just examples.
Examples.
Yeah,
Of the way to leverage the space as it exists, so that people can make their way to our garages, because right now it is very uniform. I don't know how much time we spend in our parking garages, I highly recommend spending lots of time there. I don't, but like, it's not easy, it's easy to get lost, so trying to make it an easy experience in each space.
And so essentially their suggestion is to make it easier to identify where you can exit from the garage, as well as making it very clear how the traffic patterns within the garage work, so that they're not just aimlessly driving around and wandering. In its current state, it is a challenge to find where you want to go and what stairwell will take you there or what elevator. These are, so I think you were alluding to the drawings on the stairs.
In the previous
In
one.
the previous
On
one,
this
okay.
one, there's one in the next one where it says Boulder is where. That one, Boulder plays,
Yes,
or Pearl, I was like, well, you're never gonna see it that way because you're walking up and that one just weirded me out for like, because you're gonna see Pearl is where.
yes,
It's like behind the stairs.
Question mark? Huh? Yeah.
yes. And I think that it was
open state.
and this is one of 3 concepts, so that is good feedback, and that we are looking for feedback on the different concepts.
Cool, okay. Cause I like the more abstracty ones, there's the words, I was like, what the hell is it about? Because it doesn't make any sense.
right. It's actually really great feedback. And again, this is just another concept as well. And then lastly, this is the grid system, the horizontal option. So essentially moving traffic patterns so that the color and icon, whatever that may be, at least gives them an idea of how to get in and out. So the traffic flow within the garage is easier to understand.
Maybe my feedback on the. Can you go back to the traffic pattern one? One more back. Oh, no, that's the right one. Sorry. I get the idea of like helping, like, oh, I'm in the aardvark lane or the barrel lane. But you don't necessarily know bear, deer, elk, what the order is, because it's not numerical or alphabetical or anything like that. It's more like, oh, I recognize that, but like,
Which one am I in?
where does that, what's next? How do I know that like,
Right.
what the next one is? Like, oh, well, crap, I'm not on this one because it's the aardvark and I need to go to elephant, but where's elephant compared to aardvark?
So your advice is to have like a numbering and lettering system so that people know that they're on level 2, like aisle
going or don't
A,
keep going.
number 20 or something.
And that is,
But even within the
that is shown on there a little bit. It does kind of get lost with the icon, which again is just
A1, B1.
correct. A1 and then to the far side would be A12. So it is kind of trying to carry forward that numbering logical sequence. The spot on this garage that gets a little bit quirky is section F, just because you've got a dividing ramp in there, so it does get a little bit tricky to navigate. But at least if you're continuing to go A through E, you're gonna get there eventually.
So it has an animal and a.
Yeah, it has the animal, and then there will be the alphanumeric components as well. And then the concept was going to a single color for each level. So level 1 would be one color with all the alphanumeric, and then level 2 would be a separate color with all of the same alphanumeric. So you've got the same grid system tried to repeat between levels 1 and 2, and then the differentiator between those two levels would be the color.
So it's like a deer, a bear, a sheep, and a
I think
cow.
it's a trout. There's also a trout, but yes.
I've been a longtime proponent of the woodland animal garage theme. People know because I've been talking about it for like 5 years now. But I'm excited to see this because I like how we can make the garages more than fit in with a natural environment, even if it's just, connecting themes back, but also we're visual creatures and I love the animals, so like where that's going.
What are the D and E animals?
So nothing's been officially selected at this time. This is just some concepts. I don't think that they're actually
Okay.
Yeah.
D and E look the same.
Yeah.
But it sounds like y'all are generally in agreement with the direction that folks are going.
Yep.
Like the theme idea, and then we can continue to work out an actual proposal for what would work in the garage. But is there anything else that we missed or that you think would be really helpful for us to take into consideration as we continue down this
Is each
path?
level gonna be the same animals, just in different colors? So it'll be like green bear, red bear, yellow bear, or is it gonna be like, can one be like mountains? One can be in variations, or maybe mountains, not very color. One can be variations on trees, pine tree, elk tree, one's animals, one's. So because you might remember the animal, but you
Yeah, remember.
probably remember the color, but like you could also have it be like different things.
And what are these photos?
Yeah, those, so the photo art, it was actually kind of inspiration for the stairs, and how they were anticipating doing wayfinding toward the.
So there are 3 concepts that are presented. So there's this ecology of Boulder. There is the out and about in Boulder and the placemaking, or activities of Boulder. So we would really like some feedback from you all on out of those 3 concepts or schemes. Because each of them have a different mural, concept for the stairwells and different ways to represent those things in animals or ecology or whatnot. And identifying parts of the garage. So if there is a scheme, like for instance, Don, it sounds like out and about in Boulder, that's the one where that's Pearl is where Boulder plays, so it doesn't necessarily play really well when you're actually in the stairwell. So maybe that's not a concept that we want to be moving forward with.
Well, just
Really
the
like-
words on that one, because you're never gonna see the whole sentence.
I personally like the anything nature or animal oriented because it doesn't feel like an ad. And it, I don't love it to feel like an ad. I want it to feel like it's about the uniqueness of Boulder without looking like it's pushing some sort of type of shopping or another. And I do think that a lot of our recent art in Boulder has been more modern. I would call it more like modern contemporary and less fitting in with the natural environment. And this is kind of a bit of a tangent, except to say that like talking to parks about that, like makeshift park that they built in Civic Center. The focus of the park was that it like fit in with the natural environment and used all these natural elements, and it was a really unique design. And I like when that happens throughout. Like I think that really works as a nice design element that doesn't choose one of the types, except to say I think I'm more into the looking more like the outside world and the inside of the garage.
Thanks for that feedback, Stephanie. I do want to just mention why we particularly asked the design team to put together the Out and About in Boulder for the St. Julian garage. And that's because this one's really unique in that it's our only garage that is connected to a hotel. So we know that there's a lot of visitors to this garage, particularly from out of state and out of towns that may not be familiar with the downtown Boulder area. So that was the feedback and kind of the why behind asking for that out and about concepts. So if there's a desire to do that, we can certainly ask them to kind of create a blended concept as well.
Can we do a different one of these per floor, or is it like we're gonna pick this and it's gonna be the whole garage? Is this kind of style?
We're
Kind of
looking at the floors.
going back to my kind of concept of can we do like animals on one, out and about on one, activities on the other third floor kind of thing?
You like making designers' brains explode, don't you?
I manage a whole bunch of them.
I find that people, I feel like it's vulnerable to have that. I feel like I like see people wanting to graffiti them. I'm questioning like, what race are they? What gender identity are they? It just seems like you're opening up a whole can of worms of like someone who could be offended by something. And the animals just feel super safe, cute. Just gonna say that.
I was in my college.
Yeah, the people like.
And people don't always see themselves in designs of people and.
Yeah.
You open yourself
You get to
up
see
to.
people all day.
And we'd see a lot of mustaches.
Yes, I know.
I wonder if there's a way to like do the more of the ecology or animal design, but to have a map built like mural somewhere that also, yeah, I think that's kind of what Don maybe was alluding to of having like different floors, different things. But I know that there is a map of all the kids' destinations in downtown Boulder that I'm like frequently referencing. I don't know, maybe if there's a wall that could serve as that could have a map style element to it, or something, because I think that's what we're saying, that we want people to know what's out there, but we don't want it to be the full design of the garage.
I guess I'm not gonna come up with an answer here, but I don't like the cow. For signifying Boulder, I go with like groundhogs.
It'd be nice to have things indigenous to Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say cows are Boulder, Colorado, but truer like moose or a bear or a mark. Very lot. Some birds there.
We have a lot of cows here. I'm looking at them right now outside my window.
But just feel very authentic to maybe something like if you're from out of state. You know, you're the feel from it, yeah, you feel like you're in the West.
Fox, owl. We have an owl in our neighborhood.
I do like the activity ones of the paragliding and all those, because that means a lot. For Boulder too. So maybe we'd go. Get the bear paragliding.
Yeah, that is.
Chelsea, you feel like we've gotten the feedback that you need to take this meeting moving forward?
I think so, Erica. Do you agree? Yeah.
The only other thing, like every time I go to the airport, which I go a lot, I always take pictures of like, you know, when I go back to like
Where you parked your car?
where I park. I don't know if there's something like that where it's just, you have easy access to just like take, you know, if you take a picture,
Google will be here.
or is that inconvenient? I don't know.
Yeah, good job.
Thank you.
Great ideas.
And any thoughts? We didn't really have the questions on the spruce work.
Yeah, what are you
or
doing?
St.
Spruce?
Julian. So the first part of the presentation, well, just the
words.
really heavily on design. We're not doing the same level of wayfinding. We just don't have a lot of real estate to do any sort of like paint scheme. Just given the design of the garage, but.
But this is coinciding with this sculptural element.
Yep.
And that'll all be done in conjunction with this construction.
Correct.
And I believe the art infrastructure is going in place this, like, right now, pretty soon, next couple of
It's all
days.
being fabricated. Yes.
I guess it does make sense for me to mention this. I talked to Chris about this during matters of from commissioners, but it does directly relate to the murals and things like that. I reached out to Chris and I got put in touch with someone else in CV whose name I now forget. But about the fact that Sundance is coming, and I thought, you know, people wanting selfies, and we got like the ones down on Burl Street where it has like, you know, love and all that. I thought about one that was kind of like filmmaker related, and since we control the parking garages, I had the idea of like having like, does the commission have any interest in having something that's, and it probably wouldn't be here in the one we're talking about, St. Julian, because that's all one thing, but I had that idea of like one mural that was kind of Sundance related, so like you could stand in front of it, and maybe even part of it was green screens, like that color chroma green, so you could like kind of key your own thing in. So many people can kind of do that, but then we put older stuff with like, I don't know, Godzilla climbing over the flat irons, or, you know, Men in Black, or you know, just whatever, something that's like makes it like we have a filmmaking mural in one of our garages. Does
It's
anyone?
interesting. Yeah, how do we?
We'd have to find out where, we'd have to kind of lead it, or
That's cool though.
blah, 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 but I have this kind of idea. We'd have to maybe like walk around when we like and help them get it done.
Be interested, just to make that wayfinding thing as well, like in and of itself.
Like in the film.
Does anyone hate the idea?
I don't hate it. I mean, the only thing I wonder is, like, you know, clearly, you know, some of those are they intellectual property of, you know, others that might not be, you know, so I don't know, another thought.
It's a knockoff Godzilla.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that, I don't know.
The AI
position
generated.
there. But, you know, even like a homage to someone like Robert Redford or
Or it could be,
Yeah.
yeah, Robert Redford, it
Yeah.
could be film cameras, old style kind
Yeah.
of things,
Like
RKO.
50 cinema or something.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Thanks, Jess.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christine. Switching gears quite a bit, we have Elliot Labonte here to share the city manager's 2026 recommended budget as it before today, and it's still presented to city council. We want to get this in front of you all in hopes of getting a affirmative recommendation for the work that we've been doing all year on building a 2026 budget, knowing that there is a lot of change coming. But this is all still being presented to council as part of their budget. So Elliot, over to you.
Thanks, appreciate it. Elliot Labonte, Business Services Senior Manager with CV. To Chris's point, we'll be going over the city manager's 2026 recommended budget today. We're gonna cover just a few slides that have some definitions in it. We'll look at the actual budget. The capital improvement plan, which is heavily down here downtown, as we just heard, a lot of our assets are being taken advantage of, and the environment, we can get some big projects done, we'll look at a 3-year comparison, and then we'll look at some commission feedback. So before we go too far into what we're trying to accomplish next year, wanted to kind of look at what we accomplished this year. So downtown, you can see a few projects that we've worked on and kind of highlighted and are proud. On the left there, you can see the before and afters of the tree wells, as well as the tree grates and the lack of trees. This is kind of over by the Wells Fargo parking lot, if you will. So this came out really nice and really kind of helped clean that area up. And then, of course, our murals here on this garage. As you all are aware, you take our elevators or the stairs to the main north entrance. Even though we're doing a large project at Spruce next year, we've actually identified a few things that needed to happen relatively quickly for safety concerns and to expedite those. One of those was the walkway that connects to the garage elevator on that southwest corner of the garage. And you can see some traffic coding that we've been doing, and then some landscaping as well, where I think, there was a before and after on this.
This last time it was like the bush that blocked the.
Yeah,
Everything.
everything.
It's hard when people are coming out,
Yep, so kind of a more xeriscape, more conscious of the water resources necessary to maintain it, but also the views that are within it. Some definitions, so cost allocations, internal services, transfers, all the fun things, reserves, fund balance, funds, it's all fun. So you'll see a few of these show up in the downtown budget, KGID's budget, Central Area General Improvement District. Mainly the cost allocations. There are some transfers coming in from previous years. You'll see that's actually changed in 2026 with the removal of the general fund transfer into KGID. The cost allocations I did want to highlight cover those internal services. So services or programs that are paid for by the general fund that are provided to KGID. They get compensated via a transfer or cost allocation back to the general fund. Some internal services that you'll see that show up here. These are baked into things like the central software costs. So again, it's kind of KGID's share of maintaining access to Microsoft Office and those types of things. So it allows us to use the resources that are available citywide, but KGID's just paying their portion of it as well. There are some fleet and facilities charges. The fleet charges are for the vehicles that you see driving around that have access and parking on the side of them, for snow removal, for trash removal, maintenance of garages, etc. And then from the facility standpoint, we actually do have a contribution to it's called FR&R, Facilities Repair and Renovation. It's basically a savings account that'll earmark some dollars that we put aside. We're actually using some of those funds on these larger projects because we've built a relatively sizable amount of savings in that fund. So we're pulling from it in addition to the fund balance of KGID that's bolstered by the revenues such as property taxes and products. Reserves, you'll see these reserves. KGID is one of our only funds that has a sick vacation reserve. Every fund is required to have an operating reserve as part of city policy. It basically puts aside 2 months worth of expenses into a quote unquote savings account in the event that there was an economic downfall or disaster. Kind of helps us ensure that there doesn't have a lapse in services or programs in the event we're short on money for whatever reason it may be. It gives us that buffer. The sick vacation, that is for any sort of expenses that come up from a staff member who may be partying and there's a large vacation accrual that needs to be paid out, or FMLA charges. So that's again kind of a savings account to buffer any out of the normal expenses. I will say most vacation accrual payouts are basically baked into the salary unless a staff member leaves at the end of the year, and of course then that money is higher than what the normal salary would have been for that year. Fund financials, that's just the term we use for the document that shows the sources and revenues in addition to some of those other definitions I talked about, cost allocations, reserves, etc. And it just really helps us understand how we project into the future, kind of the health of the fund. So looking at the city manager's recommended budget, this is all of community vitality, asterisk. Their sources are coming from multiple things, sales tax, property tax, and ownership tax, those types of things. So that's in every source across every fund that we manage here in CV. Same thing with the investments and the products. So this is not Cagent specific, this is across the entire department. In the future slides here, I will show you a little bit more about Cagent specific and its fund health. And then on the right-hand side, the usage, you can see that's broken down by programs as well as some of those dedicated costs such as cost allocations and internal services. And then via two columns, personnel and non-personnel. Again, this is all of community vitality. This is not just Cagent, but kind of gives you a glimpse of what we try to accomplish in our department. So the capital improvement plan, you can see here that Cagent is the biggest lift of all of our capital expenses, mainly because of the assets that are within Cagent and are owned by Cagent that require that level of maintenance. You can see Spruce next year, we're adding additional 4.665 to its CMGC. We actually earmarked 5 million, is that right? Yeah, 5 million in 2025. Some of that was used for some other garages as well, so not the full 5 million. You're not looking at a 9.65 million, it's really close to about a 7.8, I think, is a total project expense. So this 4.65 kind of fills that gap from this year's funding that is left over, and then next year helps us bolster that appropriation. The St. Julian, we're looking at a $5 million, I'm missing a zero there. It's not a 50 million, 50,000, it's 5 million, I apologize on that. Dollar appropriation to do with CMGC, and of course, we still have the Pearl Street refresh, where Cagent is investing $2 million in the Pearl Street refresh, and then CCRS is investing, it looks like 1.1 million, for a total of around $3.1 million for all Pearl Street refresh, and really trying to figure out what we want to program there for the 50th anniversary. Some of the future garages are programmed there in the out years. St. Julian, you're going to see kind of this ongoing concrete repairs. That's basically because of water intrusion. It is our lowest structure in terms of the water table, and it shows. And one of the things we're going to be doing next year is really working on preventing a lot of that, but we want to make sure that in the event we continue to have the water intrusion to the extent that we have appropriation set there to be able to do the concrete repairs. So we can extend that garage life over the years. And then the last one there is tenant improvements, and that's really earmarked for as we're working with future tenants or existing tenants who are renewing leases to be able to have some funds available to kind of do some matching as they want to do improvements. It allows us to have some match dollars to help them do those improvements, knowing that as they're signing leases or renewing leases, that they're showing a commitment to stay downtown, and we want to in return help them provide that commitment. The other two funds that are here on this are CCS and Boulder Junction. You can kind of see a little bit of the programs that we're doing there. The 1% for public art, that's really focused on kind of the CCRS capital projects, helps us find the 1% that is part of the CIP policy, but it's specific to CCRS. So now we'll look at Cagent specifically. This is a little bit different than probably what you've seen, and actually different on the budget book. Typically, you'll see 2024 actuals in the budget book. You won't actually see it compared next to the budget. So this is a great insight into what did we say we were going to get next year in terms of revenues, and what did we actually get? And same thing with expenses. How much did we say we were going to spend, and how much did we actually spend? Good news is on the sources side, we got about $500,000, $600,000 more than what we were anticipating. So that's a good thing. You can see there's a relatively large other category in 2024. Other captures a lot of different things, and the bulk of that was actually a repayment from St. Julian as part of their cost share for capital improvement programs last year. So that's really why that other category came in so much higher, is because of that pay. So we were trending pretty closely to what we anticipated, which is great. It's always nice to be relatively accurate when it comes to all things, both sources and uses. So we were pretty close there on the sources. Again, it's just that large payment from the St. Julian Hotel for the expense reimbursement. On the uses side, we were off a lot, and that was mainly due to the delay of capital. We couldn't get things out to bid or bid selected or contracts signed fast enough last year. That will be a very different scenario for 2025. We have really taken this as an opportunity this year to get as many things done as possible that we could not get done last year. So last year was our staging, this year was our running the marathon. I'm sure Chelsea and Christine can attest to the marathon, of which 2025 has been, and I kudos to them.
Is that why the capital for 2025 is like double?
Correct.
That was adopted, because really it's a push from one year to the next.
You got it, that's right. So you can see from the $5.5 million that was originally appropriated by council at the beginning of the budget cycle, so this time last year. We added another $5 million, and that's in part because we had unspent dollars in 24 that rolled over into 25. So we're still doing the things we said we were gonna do in 24, they just came a little bit later, but now we're really getting it done. In addition to everything else we're trying to get done in 2025, and we're already talking about 26, and I believe we're starting to contract for design for 27 projects, so they are crushing it.
Why aren't there any transfers in 2026?
Transfers in the sources,
The last column,
Yeah.
2026 recommended is a dash.
that is correct. So those transfers, that is the general fund transfer. So that is part of the city manager's recommended budget, is that the general fund no longer transfers into KG
So we get no more money from it.
from the general fund, that's correct.
But we're not buying them anything. anymore.
Say that again?
Like, we don't have to buy them anything anymore since they're not giving us money, or just don't get the money.
Well, so there's still the cost allocation, which is KG transferring back to the general fund. For those internal services like city manager's office, city attorney's office.
There's been no reduction in service associated with the lack of a general fund transfer.
That is a perfect way of stating it.
Okay.
Correct.
And then,
Go ahead.
sorry, on non-personnel 2026, 3.456. The 24, that's going down. Anytime I see things go down after they were higher, makes me like, I know cities low on cash. Is that all just part of that, where it's just like, we just gotta cut corners a little bit?
So the personnel budget, or sorry, that's non-personnel. You're talking about non-personnel.
Yeah, non-personnel, and then the transfers of cost allocations is also lower.
Yeah, so the transfers and cost allocations actually got reduced in 2026. So that's in part why the transfers and cost allocation line is lower, is because the reduction in cost allocation. So Cajun share has gone down a little bit, in terms of the dollar amount, not in terms of the percentage, but dollar amount has gone down. In terms of the non-personnel, there are some budget reductions, that we had in 2026, but also just some, operation cleanup that we found where we could get some additional savings to ensure that we had the money to do the capital work. So it was one of those kind of give and take relationships where if you were to look at this, and actually we could have happily go into OpenGov, you'll see our maintenance budget actually for operations increases substantially in 2026, but our district vitality budget decreases substantially in 2026. The bulk of that is what's called our EcoPass program. So the EcoPass contract has historically came in really low since 2020. Trying to think. 2021. Yeah, so they did a new process. We used to pay for EcoPasses per pass. So the number of passes equated to how much it cost us. Individual EcoPasses are not cheap. They changed the model to now we pay by rides. So anybody who uses an EcoPass down here that has an EcoPass, and if they take it to the airport or whatever. So the good news is it's cheaper. The bad news is it gives you a very good indicator of how often the bus is actually being utilized. So the numbers did actually increase for our 2026 contract, which is based on 2024's ridership. It's always in the rears. So we did actually see ridership go up across all of our districts. So there is more rides, but it's just the cost of it isn't anywhere it used to be. It used to be about $1.6 million, I think back in 2018 at its peak. And it's now coming in around $150,000. So that substantial savings allowed us to kind of say, okay, we don't need to budget this anymore. We didn't do that reduction right away because it was a brand new process and we had no idea what to expect. But now that we have a few years under our belt, we're much more confident about the cost of that program. So we were able to use some of that money to bolster maintenance operations, but also bolster capital. So you'll see that in the non-personnel side, that's the operation dollars where the EcoPass program. Does that make sense?
It's a lot to absorb, but
I
do get it.
apologize. It's a lot of.
Yeah, and
work.
now, part-time employees also get,
Correctly
right,
expanded.
and then it was RTD, like really sad, that's a lot of money for them to lose, but they know how to lose money.
Yeah.
They're good at that.
Well, since they charge us per trip, like they get.
Right,
Right,
getting
right,
paid
you're
regardless,
paying
yeah.
for what people are using, which
Exactly,
feels really fair.
right.
'Cause everybody will sign up,
But if they never use it,
yeah, then it's like, oh, no, we don't have the program anymore.
right, so what we did expand to part-time employees as well as additional 2 full-time employees within the district. So that's again, going back to the like, wow, we're saving so much money on what we anticipated to be very expensive. Let's expand the program. We have some
Yeah.
capacity.
Yeah. It's great.
So here's a little bit of the narrative. Kind of again, we've little highlighted on this. This just gives you a little bit more of the percentages over the budget, kind of from year to year. So nothing really significant. There wasn't a huge, I know the expense assumptions were down significantly, but again, it was really that capital improvement program that really kind of drove that home. Any additional questions? Is Stephanie still online?
Is
She
the,
is, not.
She had to look at it actually.
it was the, going back to the transfers again. Some of that in anticipation of what might happen with the, downtown development authority, or is it just?
I would say that the transfers this year, the reason why it was slated for a reduction, so both UCAMC, the University Hill General Improvement District, as well as Central Area General Improvement District, both had general fund transfers, both were cut. And it was large part due to the general fund reductions overall. So there was a projected shortfall within the general fund itself. So they tried to find as many places as possible to find savings so that we don't miss any programs that are funded by the general fund.
The general fund transfer was eliminated from the Parks Fund. That's why you're seeing the fees increasing at rec centers. Also eliminated from transportation mobility, and that's why we're seeing the park-to-park shuttle frequencies reduction as some examples. So it wasn't just CV related funds. The general fund transfer was eliminated from all dedicated funds.
And yeah, they're just seeing that in reduction in sales tax collection, property tax collection mostly.
Flat.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
flat out.
property, yeah, exactly.
With the news from the city manager today. Seems like there's a lot of hurdles between what the budget is versus where the organization is going to be rejiggered to. Do we need to deal with that as part of this motion that we need to deal with? Because like right now we're agreeing to this, but like that's not what it's gonna be.
So the budget, that is a very valid point. The budget is being presented to council this Thursday as far as I know. So their first reading will have the exact budget that we just talked about, and that's what they will be asked to make a motion on for the first reading. Second reading is actually traditionally when all of the special tax districts go to council individually. So the resolutions are actually brought during the second reading. To my knowledge, I don't anticipate that changing. But that this Thursday would be the first reading. So as far as I know, this is the exact budget that they will be receiving.
yes, this is the budget that council's been considering already. The city manager's office will be suggesting that any adjustments to the city budget associated with the news that came out today would be managed through adjustment to base future meetings with city council. So they are moving forward with this budget for formal approval, anticipating likely adjustments
Move the higher end.
later on.
That would happen at the soonest in 2026, post January one.
Any other questions? So, do I have to move the motion?
I think we've got some suggested motion language, but yes, somebody needs to make a motion.
So we have the suggestion of motion to recommend the city council serving as the board of the directors for CAGIT. We adopt the city manager's 2026 recommended budget appropriating money to defray expenses and liabilities pertaining to the CAGIT fund. Does anyone move this?
I move to approve.
That sounds good.
A motion from Commissioner Dahl.
Do I have a second? Okay.
Second from Commissioner Nathan.
And then we move to vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Say nay.
We have Teresa.
I think she dropped.
Yeah, she's dropped and we have quorum, so.
We will make sure that that vote gets included with that motion in the council packet for their second reading.
Second.
Thanks, Oliver, for all the information. It's fascinating to
A
hear
lot of
about.
numbers.
All right.
You guys stuck in there.
Back to Christine. We've also been doing some work, and heard a little bit from Sam Bromberg on wayfinding 2 garages. There's a lot of signage around the downtown and beyond that directs people toward the city-owned, CAGIT-owned parking garages. And Sam has been working on an update, but she's not here this week. So Christine is here to present on her behalf.
And I will try to stand up to Sam's quality of presentation for you all, but know that I will probably fail miserably because she's wonderful. But as you may remember, the last few times that we've met, we've talked about the garages and we talked about how people use the garages, but we want to make it easier for them to find these suckers, right? So what we noticed is that there are all different types of parking signage throughout downtown. And we'd like to take a moment and unify that. So this is the proposed signage based on the feedback that y'all provided last time. This was what Sam and the graphic designers came up with as a unified sign. And of course, it would be reflective in all of the things that we talked about last time. I know there was concerns about people being able to see it at night. But wanted to get a general idea or like feedback. How does this feel based on the feedback you provided last time? Feel okay? Do we hate it? Do we love it? Are you gonna lose sleep over this if we move forward with this?
I wasn't here the last time.
Oh, okay.
It's good to me.
Can you bring up the old picture just to show? Before, like, each one was different. Some were just Ps. What the hell does P mean? You know, we like the idea of like saying Pearl Street and kind of reinforcing Boulder. The logo at the top was just noisy, and so the consistency is good. I do kind of miss the downtown Boulder one.
And I think that was Downtown Boulder's old logo. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So now we have that.
It's this one. And trying to move forward with the Boulder Park logo so that people recognize it once they finally come up upon the garage. At least this signage now looks the same as the signs in front of the garages. The logo signs.
Is Boulder Park a thing? I've never heard that.
Boulder Park is the logo that we have for our parking garages. Yeah.
Ouch. Our brand recognition is So,
I only park there on the free days.
is that all that was prepared?
No, I wanted to first get insights on that, and make sure that we were all okay with
So
it.
I might interrupt them because I wanted to make sure, because I like providing options for consideration. I was wondering, about, folks, Pearl Street Mall is one feature of downtown Boulder, one part of the Cajun district. It's not the only thing in downtown. So wanted to check in and make sure that that feels right. It is certainly a well-known destination.
Instead of saying like downtown Boulder parking or something.
Exactly, or even downtown Boulder garage parking, because these signs are not directing to just any parking, they're directing to garage parking. And so is there any interest in or value in communicating garage parking? As an example, so.
First,
Or there's like just like, it doesn't say downtown Boulder, but I feel like Boulder is unique in that our attractions are downtown, but that's not true in every city. So unless other people are necessarily. I was like a cheerleader and I was like, dumb, it was always like this really easy to understand. So I don't know how many people were going to downtown Boulder, which is a little Pearl Street, you know? So I like it because I think that's generally, I mean, you could almost, marketing could almost tell us what are searches Boulder. That shows up. I don't know. Do you feel mad?
I don't be mad about something.
Yeah.
You can't get people to agree on.
I know. There's people that all the residents
agree
should
on
get
this,
free
so,
parking.
yeah.
I was like, no,
You do go to, people from out of town go to Pearl Street when they go to
Right.
Pearl Street, not downtown.
great. I don't want them to think they're getting stuck in
Now, if you have,
industry.
Chris was talking about the word garage there too. And I'm supposed to try to push people to the garage, but
Well, we want them to pay on Saturday at least. I used to tell people, oh, wait, stop, it's, and I was like, you need, wait, you can pay. We need revenue.
Also, curious about the use of the P at the top where the green, the white P with the green and the black surround is the brand that we have in front of all the garages. Should that be the thing that's
that was the only thing that's been bring up why we inversed it up there.
I don't know that there was any real thought on that one, so. I think that we can kind of make that happen.
I would even consider it consistent with both, just like, if that's the universal P there. Because that is in the both,
The whole sign green. The whole. I think they said, because top's green and that's white.
Like the black line.
and do the double stripe black and white. It's the same thing. I think that's great.
Just take that logo and plop it up.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Okay.
AI will do it for you.
Needs to be done.
So not a lot of discussion around garage, putting garage on there.
People, if it's striking people who are looking for parking, I think it's accomplishing its.
Yeah.
Task.
Like downtown Dodgers are reasons that like works and make people be like, oh, we don't want that. 25.
Parking. On the street or garage.
And then
Because we have these, the next page is like all the arrows that do direct you to the garage.
Yeah.
So really, we are pushing them to the garage and you might find off street anyway.
yeah. Nagger, you see it.
all right? Thanks
Okay.
for,
It looks
Cool.
good.
So
That cute
what I
little
heard
top.
is that, so what I heard was just moving the logo up the top we're okay with the rest of the sign as is verbiage.
I'm, can you go back one, please?
Mm.
I just missed the old, like, curvy part of the top.
Arch?
I miss the
You want
arch.
an arch?
I missed, it's kind of more cutesy hometowny feeling, but it's so stupidly small for a sign. Who cares?
I might get it
Plus
this
die
time.
cut, die cutting.
Yeah, we
adds
might
to
get
the
it
cost.
yellow.
That might be a standard actually sign shape.
Okay.
So if, so
A little
if,
flake?
if the P could be,
Yeah, the
like
P
raised
could
up.
really,
That would
it
be
was
kind of.
bigger.
That would be kinda cute.
Okay.
Because like the little, the icons of the buildings
I
and
do
stuff are
agree.
so light that you're not really gonna see it.
That's true.
That's-
and I hope they're
It's
reflective.
noise, it's
Yeah,
not enough to
definitely
do
reflective.
anything. But I, not,
Die cut it to the flat irons.
Yeah, that's not asking too much.
so there is a efficient, affordable way to have an arch.
That could be cute.
just,
And
Yeah,
then
that's efficient,
make
and
the-
that could make the park stand out on its own.
Yeah.
away from
Yeah.
the great background on itself, so.
And it might
Yeah.
provide larger text or larger
Yeah.
space for the text to be
Yeah.
bigger.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Great.
Whoever knew there'd be this much conversation
village.
about a sign. I love it.
And I might add,
I'm ready.
so the city of Boulder may at Sunday be changing its logo, maybe in the not too distant future,
No,
maybe. We'll see.
just saw it. and got all
If you go to our lollipop signs, we don't have the two circles, we just have Boulder Park. With, I think, a white background. How do you feel about, instead of being redundant with the PP?
Yeah, yeah.
You
I
said, it,
don't know
Mr.
if the
Chair,
second P is really
just have
necessary.
maybe Boulder
Yeah.
Park bigger at the bottom. With the
Yeah.
P at the top.
I think that would.
Sorry to
actually
lobby
be
so
great.
much
I
for,
think it'd be better,
Yeah.
cause now
I
it
think
looks,
so
it
too.
looks like two
so we're
organizations.
gonna take one more shot, yeah, we're gonna take one more shot.
Just throwing it out here. One thing that's nice that it says City of Boulder is that it's a public parking sign and not going to a private parking sign, so.
He's not gonna get rid of City of Boulder. He get rid of the second P.
Are
no,
you
that's the only thing
thinking-
that says City of Boulder is the City of Boulder
Wait.
logo.
Are you thinking you
Boulder
could say
will-
like Pearl Street Mall public parking or something?
I don't know, I just asked the question because that is, I think, important. If it's a city asset.
The logo.
We're the only ones allowed to put signs out right
Yeah,
away like this, but.
it's a
people
coveted
might not know
logo.
That is, but yeah, you're right, Bettina, that logo is the only thing that suggests that the signage is associated with city.
When do we get to vote on the new logo? For this city?
There's
that meeting?
That's funny.
But just, not that we would put the DEP logo on there, but does the downtown Boulder logo? For the,
I don't think so. I mean,
Because
I
they're
would love
not
to have
paying
our
for the
logo all
lot,
over
yeah.
everything, but this, the point of this is it's a city asset, it's a public.
Paid for by taxpayers.
because we, just to see it, it's like this little housey thing.
Yeah, but they're
That-
not paying for this. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah, they're not, like, they're not involved.
So what we're talking about right now, just because I'm a visual. Former graphic designer as well, is P on the arch, arrow. Then down at the bottom, just Boulder Park with the City of Boulder logo next to it. Is that right?
I think Chris was stating no logo because it might change and we're gonna have to like replace all these signs and some.
Well, and if you look at
So
our
X out
lollipop,
that
exactly, so that minus the circle,
minus the circle.
because that likely could be changing. And if you look at our lollipop signs out front, they just say Boulder Park, they don't have those two little
Can you like
logos.
curb this for a little bit till you guys?
Well, we'll probably,
I think we
we'll
should,
make those adjustments. We do need to get moving forward, and we only have a few months to make progress right now.
Can we make them future proof? Where you could have a decal that's removable, to have it be replaced.
All right, we've already spent too much time. I want to make sure that, Christine is able to share.
There is also,
locations.
transportation is doing a core arterial network study right now of the downtown area. So we wanted to get this in place prior to Sundance so that people can find parking. But there may be a future in which stuff needs to be reworked based on the larger study of the way people move around downtown.
I think the less information on it, the better, so if we clean that up, then that's the best, and if we need to add a city folder medallion in the future, we
Well,
can
just
just add
to
that.
say the step,
Or
you want to
just
give us
work.
2 options, one with the logo, one without, when you're coming back to us with the next one, so we can.
If he comes back.
So it sounds like
We do have a couple more meetings.
Okay.
the next logo bold is gonna be pictured on.
Yeah, right.
Welcome. Okay.
All right.
So these are the current traffic patterns as we know them to be before the core arterial network, taking you into Caged, which is in blue. And these are the signs as they currently exist and where they currently exist. The ones in red are the ones that we're suggesting be removed. And then if you pay attention, the green ones stay where they're at. And then the white ones are the ones that we're suggesting to be added. Does that make sense? Like we would just take the old sign down where it's green and put up the new one. And then the white ones are where we're proposing we add new signs.
And this was all included in your packet, so really just wanted to make sure we are checking in with you all before we started printing signs and moving forward. So it sounds like we still have some work to do on the design. If you all had a chance to review, does this approach placement all make sense to the commission?
Sure.
This seemed micromanaging to me.
Great.
Maybe the one thing back to the signs though, is like old one had a white border around the whole thing, this one it just goes green all the way to the bleed. Part of me likes the stroke on the outside of the white around the whole sign.
Cool. Great.
Yeah,
Sure we can
well,
do
I
that.
mean, as this will reflect, this will be a change out in the community. We want to make sure that we daylighting the changes with the folks that we are accountable to before we just go and do it.
Did anyone have comments on the wayfind or the where the signs go? I kind of nixed it, but I was like. Okay.
Great, cool. And then garage pricing for the,
So glad this is brought up because I meant to bring this up during the budget conversation. Part of the city manager's recommended budget includes a 50-cent increase per hour for on-street park, modest increase, which is translating 50 cents per hour on street. And a modest increase in garage parking as well. And so the team has been doing some work to translate to what we're recommending that to mean in the garages to simplify our rates. And also reflect the city manager's recommendation. And so here are the recommended changes that we would like to get in front of you and also get a recommendation on for the budget conversation.
yep. And so in the past, it was $1.75 for the first hour and the 99-cent fee was absorbed into that fee. And then it was $1.25 per hour for the 2nd through 6th, and then 6th through 12th, there was a full $15.99. Still had the three for three, and then weekends and holidays are free. So we're still suggesting free weekends and holidays and 3 for 3. We're suggesting that we just make it $1.75 per hour for the first 6 hours. And then after that, it's the full $15, and then the 99-cent fee would be tacked on to all transactions.
Streamline, right?
Yeah,
The base rate on street is proposed for $2 per hour, so. It'll still be, the garage will be the best deal for longer term stays. With on street being targeted for the shorter trips.
I don't love the 99-cent fee because technically we're charging them one rate. It's kind of
Yeah.
slimy.
Like it's a whole like 3 for 3 for 3.
Plus a fee. 3 for 3 till 3, Plus a fee.
It's kind of
That's
like,
right.
it's all the comments people have about restaurants where you like go down and you sit and then there's like a, you know, your meal's $16 and the tip's 20%, and then there's another 12% fee.
Yep.
And it's like,
Well, and we've been getting a lot of feedback, because right now, if you're parking after 3, it shows up as a $2.01 charge and with plus a 99-cent fee, and we've been getting a lot of feedback about that.
oh, because it comes through
Because
twice.
we don't, right now, we don't communicate the 99-cent fee, we just say, here are our rates. And here's what to expect, and then folks get confused because the Metropolis is very clear about the 99 cent.
Because they break it out and we can't give it one
Exactly.
price on the bill. So this kind of makes it clearer, even though this makes them mad. The new way kind of makes them mad going in, the old way makes them mad coming out. They get it a month later.
Yeah.
But they're still only paying $3.
And we can't have Metropolis just charge one price on the credit card.
No, and it makes sense, since they're a third-party vendor, making sure that it's really clear of your parking, what we need to.
What goes
let
to this?
folks know what's
Organization.
going where. Yeah. We would love, a, vote on this recommendation.
So you guys just eating the 99 cent? I guess I'm confused.
Yeah.
Currently, we have been, I mean, for a portion of it, we've been subsidizing. This will translate into revenue increase for Cajun specifically, no doubt about it.
Good luck on the verbiage with the 99-cent fee and getting those calls. That's, you're damned if you do, damned if
This
you
will be
don't.
effective
them all.
January, this will be effective January 1.
So Chris will be fine.
Wonder wisely.
Well, do I hear a motion to accept this, or is there any other options people would have?
vote.
Just for, for the record, the DMC does have say over recommending, the fees that we charge. We typically do that through the budget process, and wanted to make sure that this was really clear to you all.
I like that it's a lot simpler. The 99-cent fee gives me heebie-jeebies, but we're dealing with the devil here, so. Any, do I hear a motion?
A motion to approval of votes.
Do I hear a second? Second. All those in favor, say aye. And opposed, say nay.
Thank you for that.
Lovely. I think we covered all of her questions in our discussion.
All right. Moving right along, the last thing on matters from staff, we had a draft agenda included. We shared this with all the other commissions for the October 20th Joint Commissions Summit. Of course, a major topic of discussion will Mark Wolf will be there to talk through the news that you all got today and implications and what the things are gonna be looking like moving
I didn't see
forward.
that necessarily as a, or is that item
But-
2?
I don't know what page we're on, so I have to, what is item 2?
It's
Here it
the
is.
next to last page. Or, oh, no.
Oh, yeah, sorry,
Right.
item 2,
Sorry.
yeah, so
Economic Development
Introduction.
Strategy Update.
yes, so that's the line item we've been using because of the news that was not out
Wasn't
publicly, yes, exactly. So that agenda item will be focused upon the broader economic development strategy of the city. We are still anticipating all these other items, so we have been asked for more time for the Boulder Valley Comp Plan. And it's been suggested that, especially given the changes that the arts and special events update isn't necessary, so we're looking at longer, more time spent on the Boulder Valley Comp Plan, and taking the arts and special events component out of the joint commissions meeting. That's where we currently are in our draft agenda for the 20th.
Who is the chair of this meeting?
That's a great question. Would like to be. It was your idea.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to, but I just didn't know because it kept talking.
I'd say we'll let the chairs, fight amongst themselves, but,
Whoever shows up first.
yeah, what's,
Whoever shows up first.
yeah, there you go.
There it's 10 a.m.
No.
Camping out.
One other feedback, this is like term CMO in the announcement that came out today. For Matt Jazansky. It never defined what CMO was,
City manager's office.
but it didn't say that in the thing. And so I was like,
What's that mean? What did you think of that?
chief, to me, it's chief marketing officer.
Huh.
Because Matt Jazansky is now the CMO, it's what it said. And I was like, don't know what that means.
That's good feedback for our communications folks. All right, anything else on the agenda for the joint?
Is this held in council chambers then?
No, it's a large, meeting room on the ground level of that building.
Okay.
We parked there.
We were there in April.
I wasn't there.
Park, did you guys start parking?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get you,
Parked
we'll
there
get
for
you.
free.
Oh, yeah, I'll have
Parking
parking
for you.
process.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Any chance like. It's like a win. Hope I can find it.
There will be signs shortly.
You park in a garage.
Oh, dear. That concludes matters from staff.
Okay.
Any matters from commissioners? Anything we all want to talk about?
That's a lot.
Wow, doing good on time. Smoke them if you got them. Upcoming meetings, is the October 20th at 3 p.m. for this 9, oh my God. And, then our next meeting is end of this month.
Yes, because of Veterans Day in November, we have to move up for November meeting to get to October.
So this will be the last meeting of the year. We just got notified by the city clerk's office that city council is going to be asking for letters from commissions. And so that might be something we want to cover in the joint commissions meeting, so that by the October 28th, we can have a draft and get approved by the commission for submission to council. Did we get a deadline from the clerk's office?
December 19th.
Yes, so we'll be using that meeting to finalize a letter from DMC. Because that will be our last opportunity.
Oh, the back of my head says that when Stephanie wrote the last one.
I believe so.
Do you have interest in leading that again for Stephanie? I don't mean to pin it on you, I just wanted to give you first dibs.
I also don't want to put it on her, being president.
If do you have interest?
Sure.
Do you want to reach out to her and talk to her? Do you, this is new to you.
Yeah.
And is it new to you? So Chris, do you want to define what it is?
Sure, so usually tied with new city council members coming on, there is a request from all boards and commissions across the cities to submit a letter of priorities. I don't know if we have the prompts ready just now, but we'll make sure we get it to the summit. Or directly, I think we might be able to just get it out, email out, as long as you don't respond to it, of what the prompts are from council. This helps, so then council members read all these letters in advance of their retreat in the spring. So they use the feedback from all commissions to help inform their priority setting for the council term ahead. Does that make sense?
And oftentimes it piggybacks on kind of what our priorities were that we wrote already. So it's kind of like giving the why behind the bullets.
It's really this commission's opportunity to have a direct message to council of what you think they should be prioritizing when it comes to realm, of work that you all are representatives of.
Though the Sundance is new since we came up with our priorities, so that, but. Andy, Erica, do you have interest in helping? We found is we don't want to group write it together in one of these meetings. What's nice is that one or two people kind of writes it. We can send it to Ellie, she can send it out to us so that we can all read it ahead of time and make our notes, maybe we send her note comments back. This is where it's all kind of silly, but, and we could maybe do a second draft, and then at the last thing, we'd be like, capitalize this one letter and we're gonna vote it. Yeah.
What's the timetable for this?
So we'd have our first, we would,
Hopefully approve it on the 28th.
yeah,
So, yeah, we'll spend some time workshopping with all the commissions on the 28th or the 20th. Then,
Be back here the 28th.
right.
so the way we'd
But
almost
in
do
between
like
the
a-
20, so problem is we need to get the packet out. For the October 28th meeting, a few days before, and that packet should have the draft letter that we're going to be discussing it in the meeting. So the folks, so it is gonna be a tight turnaround for this commission specifically because of the Veterans Day holiday. So we will work to make sure that if you're able to meet with Stephanie and get something coordinated, if you can get that to us.
And maybe what would be helpful is if you can get that list of like prompts. Because we need to feed Cal and Stephanie.
Right.
Erica, mine and Andy's opinions to them, so they could hear what we think too. So you're not just on your own writing it, right? You could maybe got them. What we care about.
So we'll get that information out. Right. Please don't respond all. And then if you and whoever, if Stephanie wants to help, whatever you're able to get to us in advance of the All Commission Summit. We can have that.
So next week.
So who should we
So-
respond to?
I'll include the meeting in the email that I send out tomorrow about this, but it will be due on next Wednesday for the meeting packet.
The 15th. Yep. Right.
And something that we could do, how about, sorry to change up, to make your lives easier. Instead of having you trying to write a letter. If you could, and we'll send out the prompts. And then if you can all respond to those prompts based on your own individual perspective. We will then synthesize all of that into one draft letter. That will be included in the packet for the summit, and we'll do the same thing for all the other commissions. You're the only, because we delayed this meeting, you're the only folks that had the opportunity to kind of contemplate it. The rest of the commissions haven't, so we'll send out some instructions on individual responses. And work to combine those responses all together for a draft letter that will be included in the packet for the October 20th summit.
And who do we
That sounds
respond
much
to?
easier.
We respond directly to Ellen.
Okay.
Ellie, can you give us those directions, because we've done this a couple times.
I will absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, send it out, yeah.
I'll probably have to be virtual that night.
That's okay.
My wife is. doing Stuff for that other city.
All right.
Steal all the ideas.
That's your turn.
They do have a DDA.
A second.
Sure.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.